My son-in-law thought I was just a confused old man who wouldn't notice him creeping through my house after midnight. He'd been searching my study for weeks, looking for the combination to my wall safe, assuming I was too senile to realize my papers had been moved. But the night he finally opened that locked desk drawer, his confident smile disappeared faster than smoke and wind. What he found there didn't just shock him, it destroyed the carefully constructed lies he'd been feeding my daughter for 6 months. And I watched it all unfold from my supposedly locked bedroom where I'd been awake every single night documenting everything. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The wine glass stopped halfway to my lips when Michael's question cut through our Sunday dinner like a blade. So Thomas, that wall safe in your study, what's the combination based on? My daughter Emma nearly dropped her fork. Michael, that's incredibly rude, but Michael's eyes stayed locked on mine, waiting for an answer. His expression held something predatory, calculating, like a cat watching a mouse hole. I set my glass down carefully, watching condensation form a ring on my mahogany table. Just curious about security systems, he continued, flashing that practiced smile. With all the home invasions lately, a man your age living alone should probably upgrade to something more modern. What home invasions? I asked quietly. I'd lived in this Seattle neighborhood for 23 years. The most excitement we'd had was when the Johnsons' teenage son threw an unsupervised party last summer. Michael waved his hand dismissively. They don't publicize them to avoid panic, but I've been reading elderly homeowners are specifically targeted because they keep cash and valuables at home. Elderly, the word hung in the air like an insult wrapped in false concern. I'm 68, not 92, I said mildly. Michael leaned forward, elbows on my dining table. Still, you're living alone in a 4-bedroom house. Someone determined could easily. He trailed off meaningfully. Could what? I asked. Michael's smile widened. Nothing, Thomas. Just saying you should consider better security. Maybe change that safe combination to something less predictable. How would you know if it's predictable? The question came out sharper than I intended. For just a moment Michael's mask slipped. I saw something cold flash across his features before the concerned son-in-law expression returned. Just making assumptions based on typical patterns. People your generation usually use birthdays, anniversaries, simple dates. Emma jumped in quickly. Dad's always been security conscious. Right, Dad. I nodded slowly, but my mind was racing. Michael's interest in my safe wasn't casual dinner conversations. This was reconnaissance disguised as concern. The rest of dinner limped along with forced pleasantries, but Michael kept circling back. Questions about my daily routine, whether I took medication that made me drowsy, how deeply I slept, whether I ever forgot to lock doors. Each question felt like fingers probing for weakness, testing my defenses. When dinner ended, Emma insisted on handling cleanup. You cook, Dad. Relax. I appreciate it, sweetheart, I said, already stacking plates. It's therapeutic for me. Michael stood abruptly. Actually, I need to use the restroom. Upstairs, down the hall, second door, I said, watching him leave. But the bathroom was the first door. The second door led to my study. Through the kitchen doorway, I watched Michael climb the stairs, his hand trailing along the banister like he was memorizing the route. He disappeared around the corner, and I counted silently. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. At 15 Mississippi, I heard the study door creak. The bathroom door never opened. Michael was in my study, and he'd been there long enough to do more than glance around. He doesn't seem himself lately, Emma said quietly, stacking dishes beside me. Work stress, more than that. She bit her lip. He's been taking these late-night phone calls, gets angry when I ask questions, says I don't understand business pressure. I kept washing dishes, but my hands moved on autopilot while my mind cataloged warning signs. Michael's unemployment that supposedly was temporary had stretched to 6 months. His vague explanations about job prospects that never materialized, the way he studied my house like he was appraising inventory. "What kind of business is he in?" I asked carefully. Emma's pause lasted too long. "I thought construction management. But lately I'm not sure he's being completely honest about things." The admission hung between us, fragile and frightening. Before I could respond, Michael's footsteps sounded on the stairs. "Find everything okay?" I called out. "Perfect. Thanks." Michael appeared in the kitchen doorway looking slightly flushed. "Great dinner, Thomas. We should do this more often." After they left, I climbed the stairs slowly, my heart hammering. The study door stood slightly ajar, maybe 3 inches of darkness visible through the gap. I always closed it completely. Always. Inside, everything looked normal at first glance. My desk chair sat at the right angle. My computer monitor faced forward. My bookshelf stood undisturbed. But my eyes, trained by decades of teaching college mathematics, where precision mattered, caught the discrepancies immediately. The desk calendar had been moved 2 inches to the left. My pen holder sat at a different angle, and the locked bottom desk drawer, where I kept financial documents, showed fresh scratches around the keyhole. Someone had tried to pick the lock. My hand started shaking, not from fear, but from cold fury. This wasn't casual snooping. This was systematic searching by someone who knew exactly what they wanted and where to find it. Michael had been in here for at least 10 minutes, plenty of time to photograph documents, test locks, map my security setup. I checked the wall safe behind my framed degree. The painting hung straight, but the safe dial had been turned slightly. Someone had tested it, tried random combinations, given up when nothing opened immediately. Michael was preparing for something, planning something, and he'd just made his first major mistake, assuming I wouldn't notice. I pulled out my phone and opened the security camera app I'd installed last month. After sensing something was wrong, the motion-activated cameras I'd hidden throughout the house had been recording everything. I scrolled to tonight's footage, found the timestamp when Michael excused himself for the bathroom, and pressed play. The screen showed Michael climbing the stairs, pausing at the top, glancing back to ensure no one followed, then entering my study with the confidence of someone who'd done this before. The video captured everything. Michael rifling through my desk drawer, testing the locked bottom drawer with what looked like a small tool, examining papers, photographing pages with his phone, approaching the wall safe, trying various combinations, cursing under his breath when nothing worked. The audio was crystal clear. "Come on, old man. What would you use? Birthdays?" He tried several combinations, each failing. The safe remained locked. After 12 minutes, Michael gave up. He carefully repositioned everything, or thought he did, and returned to the hallway. The timestamp showed he'd flushed the toilet and run the sink for exactly 15 seconds to maintain his bathroom alibi. Professional, calculated, absolutely damning. I saved the footage to 3 separate cloud accounts and made a backup on an encrypted drive. This wasn't just evidence, this was ammunition. Michael had declared war on my family. He just didn't know his enemy was a former military intelligence analyst who'd spent 30 years teaching students how to solve complex problems through systematic observation and strategic thinking. Michael wanted to play games with an old man, fine, but he was about to learn that some old men were trained to win wars, not just survive them. I sat in my study until past midnight, planning my response with the same methodical precision I'd once used to plan military operations. Michael had made 3 critical errors. First, he'd assumed I was oblivious. Second, he'd left evidence. Third, and most importantly, he'd underestimated exactly who he was dealing with. Tomorrow, I would start building my trap. Tonight, I would let him think his intrusion went undetected. Let him grow confident. Let him make bigger mistakes. because the best way to catch a rat wasn't to scare it away, it was to convince it the trap was actually a feast. The next morning, I drove to a specialty security store in downtown Seattle. The clerk, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, listened to my requirements without judgment. "I need a locked drawer to appear pickable," I explained, "but I want to know immediately when someone attempts it." She nodded thoughtfully. "You want a tamper detection system? Something that alerts you the moment someone tries to access it?" "Exactly. And I want the lock to seem simple enough that someone with basic skills would try." Patricia smiled. "I have just the thing." She showed me a lock that looked straightforward but contained a silent alarm chip. The moment someone inserted anything into the keyhole, a pick, a key, even a toothpick, my phone would receive an alert. The lock also photographed whoever triggered it using a microscopic camera hidden in the mechanism. "Very popular with people dealing with internal theft," Patricia said. "Family members, business partners, house guests who get too curious." "I also need something for inside the drawer," I continued. "Something that would be shocking to find. Something that would make someone panic." Patricia's expression grew serious. "How shocking are we talking?" "I need whoever opens that drawer to immediately reveal their intentions. Something that would make them confront me directly." She thought for a moment. "What about a false accusation? Plant documents that suggest you're aware of their activities. Make them think you've been investigating them." I shook my head. "Too aggressive. They might just run. I want them off balance, but desperate enough to try convincing me of their innocence." Patricia's eyes lit up. "How about medical records? Fake ones, of course, suggesting you're incompetent, that you've been diagnosed with severe dementia. Include notes about how you're hiding your condition from family." "That's brilliant," I said slowly. "If Michael thinks I'm mentally declining, he'll believe I'm easier to manipulate. He might even try to have me declared incompetent." "Exactly. And if he shows those records to anyone, a lawyer, your daughter, you've got him on multiple charges: theft, fraud, potential elder abuse." Patricia prepared everything while I waited. The lock looked identical to a standard drawer lock, but contained sophisticated technology. The fake medical records were masterfully created on letterhead from Seattle General Hospital, complete with doctor signatures and official stamps. If this story reminded you of the injustices you've seen, follow the channel and turn on notifications, because wherever justice is delayed, a new revenge story begins. Dr. Sarah Chin, patient Thomas Morrison, age 68. Diagnosis: advanced dementia with rapid cognitive decline. Patient shows significant memory loss, confusion regarding financial matters, paranoia, and declining capacity for self-care. Recommend immediate evaluation for assisted living placement. Family should be informed of diagnosis. Patient has specifically requested this information remain confidential, expressing fear of losing independence. The documents were perfect, detailed enough to seem legitimate, alarming enough to trigger action from anyone who found them. "You understand these are completely fake," Patricia said, handing me the envelope. "For trap purposes only. If anyone uses them legally, you'll need to prove they're fabricated. I have a real doctor who'll confirm I'm perfectly healthy," I assured her. "This is just bait." "Make sure your phone is charged," Patricia said as I left. "That lock will send alerts the moment someone touches it. I want to be awake when he takes the bait." Back home, I installed the new lock on my desk drawer. The installation was simple, requiring only a screwdriver and 10 minutes. I placed the fake medical records inside, along with some financial statements, real ones, showing my actual net worth of $1.7 million. If Michael was going to search my desk, he might as well learn exactly how much was at stake. I also positioned a secondary camera inside the drawer itself, hidden in what looked like a normal pen holder. When someone opened the drawer, the camera would capture their face in perfect high-definition detail. The pen holder camera connected to the same app as my other security equipment. I'd have multiple angles of Michael's expression when he found those medical records. The documentation of his invasion of my privacy would be comprehensive and irrefutable. I tested the system 3 times. Each test sent an alert to my phone within seconds. The drawer camera captured perfect video of my face. Everything was ready. Now I just needed to give Michael another opportunity. That evening, I called Emma. "Honey, I was thinking, maybe you and Michael would like to stay over this weekend? I could use the company." "Really, Dad? You usually prefer your space." "I've been feeling a bit lonely lately," I said, injecting just the right note of elderly vulnerability into my voice, "and I'd like to spend time with you. Michael mentioned he's interested in my book collection. He could browse my study." Emma's voice brightened. "That would be wonderful. Michael's been stressed about job hunting. A quiet weekend might help." "Perfect. Come Friday evening. I'll make that pot roast you love." After hanging up, I sat in my study and looked at the locked drawer containing my trap. Michael would have an entire weekend with access to my house. 3 nights when he'd think I was sleeping. Ample opportunity to search my study without time pressure. I pulled up the security camera app and reviewed my coverage. 8 cameras now monitored every room, motion activated, night vision capable, all feeding to secure cloud storage. Michael's every movement would be documented. The locked drawer waited like a loaded mousetrap. The fake medical records sat inside like poisoned cheese, and I sat in my chair, a supposedly confused old man planning his son-in-law's complete exposure with the precision of a military strategist. Michael wanted to play games. Fine, but he just entered a game where I controlled all the rules. Friday evening arrived with Seattle's typical October rain. Emma and Michael showed up at 6, laden with overnight bags and forced smiles. "Thomas, thanks for having us," Michael said, gripping my hand a bit too firmly. "Good to spend quality time together." Emma hugged me tight. "You look tired, Dad. Are you feeling okay?" "Just a bit run down," I said carefully. "Getting older, I suppose." Michael's eyes sharpened at that. "Well, we're here to help. Maybe you should turn in early tonight, get some rest." I made pot roast as promised, and we ate in the dining room while rain drummed against the windows. Michael asked questions throughout dinner. How I managed my medications, whether I ever forgot to lock doors, if I'd considered hiring help for household tasks. Each question probed my competence, my vulnerability, my potential weaknesses. Emma shot him warning looks, but Michael persisted with the relentlessness of someone executing a plan. After dinner, Michael volunteered to help me clean up. "You two handle the kitchen," Emma said. "I'll unpack our things upstairs." The moment Emma disappeared upstairs, Michael's demeanor changed. "Thomas, I've been meaning to talk to you about something important." He moved closer, voice lowering to confidential tones. "Emma's worried about you living alone. She's mentioned you've seemed forgetful lately." "I haven't been forgetful," I said firmly. Michael nodded with exaggerated sympathy. "That's exactly what people say when they're starting to decline. They don't notice the changes themselves." "What changes?" Has Emma noticed medication bottles left out, doors unlocked, bills unpaid? His questions weren't random. He was building a narrative, creating evidence of incompetence that didn't exist. "I'm perfectly capable of managing my affairs." Michael put his hand on my shoulder with false warmth. "Of course you are, but there's no shame in accepting help. Maybe someone to manage your finances, handle complex paperwork, make sure nothing gets overlooked." "You want to manage my finances?" The question came out more sharply than I intended. "Just suggesting options," Michael said smoothly. "You've worked hard your whole life. You deserve to relax." Let younger people handle the complicated stuff. I watched his face and saw the calculation behind every word. Michael wasn't offering to help. He was positioning himself to take control, to convince Emma that her father needed oversight, to access my accounts under the guise of assistance. "It's thoughtful of you to care," I said slowly, playing my part. "But I'm not ready for that kind of help yet." Michael's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Of course, just something to keep in mind." Later, after Emma and Michael retired to the guest room, I lay in my bed monitoring my phone. The security camera app showed the house in night vision, green, empty hallways and silent rooms waiting. At 1:47 a.m., motion activated camera 3 in the upstairs hallway. Michael emerged from the guest room, moving with practiced stealth. He paused outside my bedroom door, listening, confirming I was asleep. Then he moved down the hall toward my study. My heart hammered as I watched Michael enter my study and close the door silently behind him. Camera 5 inside the study showed him approaching my desk with the confidence of someone who'd planned this moment for weeks. Michael tried the bottom drawer. Locked. Perfect. I watched through the camera feed as he pulled out a small lockpick set. Not amateur tools, professional quality picks that spoke of practice and preparation. The moment his pick entered the lock, my phone vibrated with an alert. Silent alarm triggered. Lock camera activated. Additional footage began recording automatically from the hidden camera inside the drawer. This was it. Michael worked the lock for 3 minutes before it clicked open. He pulled the drawer out carefully, angling his phone's flashlight inside. And there, captured in perfect high definition from 3 camera angles, was Michael's face when he found the medical records. His expression went from triumphant to stunned to absolutely delighted in the space of 5 seconds. "Oh my God," he whispered. "He's got dementia." Michael pulled out the documents, photographing each page with his phone. His hands trembled slightly with excitement as he reviewed Doc Chen's fictional diagnosis of my advanced cognitive decline. "This is perfect," he muttered. "Emma will have to face reality now. He can't manage his own affairs anymore." I watched from my bedroom as Michael photographed my financial statements. His eyes widened at the numbers. $1.7 million in assets, exactly as displayed. Then Michael did something that sealed his fate. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Yeah, it's me. I found what we needed. The old man's got dementia. Serious decline. Diagnosed but hiding it from everyone. There's documentation. He had an accomplice. Someone else was involved in this plan. Better yet," Michael continued, "there's over $1.7 million in accessible assets. Once Emma gets power of attorney, we're golden." My blood turned to ice. They weren't just planning to rob me. They were planning to use my daughter as an unwitting tool to legally steal everything I'd built. "Get the paperwork ready," Michael said. "I'll convince Emma. Her father needs help. With these medical records, she'll agree to take legal control. Then we move the assets like we discussed." The cruelty of the plan was breathtaking. Forge medical evidence, manipulate my daughter into believing I was incompetent, gain legal control of my finances through her, then disappear with everything while Emma dealt with the aftermath and guilt. "I should have it wrapped up in 2 weeks, Michael said. "The old man's already showing signs. I've been planting seeds. Emma's starting to notice things that aren't even real." He laughed quietly, a sound that made my skin crawl. "Easiest job we've pulled. These elderly targets never see it coming." I saved every second of footage to multiple secure locations. Michael had just confessed to conspiracy to commit elder fraud, captured in his own words from multiple angles. Michael finished photographing documents, carefully returned everything to appear undisturbed, and slipped out of my study. I watched him return to the guest room where my daughter slept, oblivious to her husband's betrayal. But Michael had made one catastrophic mistake. He'd assumed the medical records were real. Tomorrow morning, I would show him exactly how wrong he was. And just like Michael was about to learn, Some military intelligence analysts never really retire. They just wait for worthy opponents. Sleep was impossible after watching Michael's performance. I lay in my bed reviewing footage, ensuring every angle captured his face clearly, every word of his phone call recorded with crystal clarity. At 6:30 a.m., I got up and began preparing breakfast with methodical precision. This needed to look normal, routine, the actions of a man completely unaware of the night's intrusion. Emma appeared first, looking refreshed. "Morning, Dad. You're up early." "Old habits," I said, setting out coffee. "Your mother and I always had breakfast at 7. Is Michael awake?" "Still sleeping." She smiled warmly. "Thank you again for having us this weekend. It means a lot." Michael emerged 30 minutes later, looking smugly confident. "Morning, everyone. Sleep well, like a baby," I said, meeting his eyes directly. "You? Great. This house is so quiet at night. Nothing disturbs your rest here." I let that lie sit between us for a moment before turning back to the stove. After breakfast, Emma went to shower. Michael lingered in the kitchen, and I knew this was his opening. "Thomas," he began carefully, "I wanted to follow up on our conversation last night." "About getting help managing things," he continued, leaning against the counter with false casualness. "I've been thinking maybe Emma and I could assist more with your day-to-day affairs." I set down my coffee cup with deliberate care. "What kind of affairs? Bills, investments, medical appointments?" Michael's voice dripped with manufactured concern. "Emma mentioned you seemed confused about some financial statements recently." "I was never confused about anything." Michael nodded with exaggerated patience. "Of course not. But sometimes, as we age, things that used to be simple become overwhelming. There's no shame in accepting help. I'm 68, not helpless. But you live alone, Thomas. What if something happened? What if you forgot medication or left the stove on? These are legitimate concerns that conveniently give you access to my finances." The words came out sharper than intended. Michael's expression flickered, annoyance breaking through his compassionate mask. "I'm trying to help protect you. Emma would never forgive herself if something happened because you were too stubborn to accept assistance. What would you do at this point? Write it in the comments. Your thoughts are as important as the story itself." The manipulation was masterful. Frame his theft as protection, make my resistance seem like dangerous pride, position himself as the reasonable party thinking of my daughter's feelings. Before I could respond, Emma returned, hair still damp. "What are you two talking about?" "Just discussing your father's well-being," Michael said smoothly. "I suggested maybe we could help more with managing household things." "Dad doesn't need managing," Emma said, but I caught the flicker of uncertainty in her voice. "Do you, Dad?" I met Michael's eyes. "I'm perfectly capable of managing my own affair, but if I ever need help, Emma will be the first person I ask. Not you." The room went silent. Michael's jaw tightened. Emma looked between us, sensing tension she couldn't identify. "Maybe we should go for a walk," Emma suggested. "Get some fresh air." "Good idea," Michael said quickly. "Thomas probably needs rest anyway." After they left, I sat in my kitchen with my phone, reviewing last night's footage one more time. Michael's face when he found the medical records, his excited phone call, his confession of the entire plan, captured in perfect audio quality. I'd been gathering evidence. Now it was time to spring the trap. I called Patricia at the security store. "It's Thomas Morrison. The system worked perfectly. I have everything documented." "Good," she said. "What's your next move?" "I'm confronting him tonight. I want you on standby as a witness to what happens." "I can do that." Patricia paused. "Be careful, Thomas. Desperate people do desperate things. That's why I'm calling you first. I need someone who knows what I've set up in case things go wrong." We arranged for Patricia to monitor my security feed remotely starting at 7:00 p.m. If anything seemed dangerous, she'd call police immediately. Emma and Michael returned from their walk around 4 a.m. Michael looked calmer, more confident. He'd probably spent the walk further planting seeds of doubt about my competence in Emma's mind. I made dinner, salmon and vegetables, and we ate with forced conversation. Michael kept glancing toward the staircase, toward my study, probably thinking about the documents he'd photographed, probably planning his next move. After dinner, I made my announcement. I need to discuss something important with both of you. Emma's face showed concern. Are you okay, Dad? I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. I looked directly at Michael, but I discovered something disturbing last night. Michael went very still. What do you mean? Someone entered my study at 1:47 this morning. I watched him. They broke into my locked desk drawer. They photographed private documents. They made a phone call discussing how to steal my assets. Emma's face went white. Dad, what are you saying? I'm saying your husband has been systematically planning to rob me, and he intended to use you as his unwitting accomplice. That's insane. Michael stood abruptly. Thomas, I think your confusion is getting worse. Emma, this is exactly what I was worried about. Paranoid delusions are a sign of... I'm not delusional, I interrupted calmly. I have video evidence. Every word Michael had prepared died on his lips. Emma stared at me. Video evidence? I pulled out my phone and opened the security app. I installed cameras throughout the house last month. Motion activated, night vision capable. They record everything. Michael's face had gone from confident to ashen. You're bluffing. Am I? I pressed play on the first clip. The screen showed Michael leaving the guest room at 1:47 a.m., moving stealthily through the hallway, entering my study. Emma gasped. Michael, what were you doing? Wait, Michael said desperately. I can explain. The next video showed him picking my desk lock with professional tools. Emma's hand flew to her mouth. You broke into Dad's desk? He was searching for something specific, I said calmly. Medical records, financial statements, evidence he could use to have me declared incompetent. Michael tried to interrupt, but I kept playing footage. The camera inside the drawer showed his face in perfect clarity as he found the documents, showed his excitement as he photographed everything. Oh my God, he whispered, his expression captured in high-definition detail. He's got dementia. Emma's face crumbled. She looked at Michael like she'd never seen him before. You thought my father had dementia, and you were excited. It's not what it looks like, Michael said desperately. Then what is it like? I asked. Because here's the next video, his phone call. I played the audio. Michael's voice filled my dining room clear and damning. Yeah, it's me. I found what we needed. The old man's got dementia, serious decline. Emma swayed in her chair like she might faint. I moved to her side, putting my hand on her shoulder. Listen to the rest, sweetheart. Better yet, there's over $1.7 million in accessible assets. Once Emma gets power of attorney, we're golden. Michael tried to speak, but his voice came out strangled. That's taken out of context. Get the paperwork ready. I'll convince Emma her father needs help. With these medical records, she'll agree to take legal control. Then we move the assets, like we discussed. Emma's tears started flowing. Michael reached for her, but she recoiled violently. Don't touch me. But Emma, you were going to use me. Her voice broke. You were going to make me think my father was sick so you could steal from him through me. Michael's desperation grew. You don't understand. I'm in debt. Serious debt. I needed, so you decided to destroy my family. Emma stood, backing away from him. You made me doubt my father's mind. You planted suggestions, made me question things that weren't even wrong. Every word is recorded, I said quietly. Multiple angles, time-stamped, backed up to secure cloud storage. Your confession, your accomplice on the phone, your entire plan documented. Michael looked trapped. His eyes darted between Emma and me, searching for escape routes. The medical records, he said weakly. They proved you were sick. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a letter on official letterhead. This is from Dr. Sarah Chin at Seattle General, my actual doctor, dated yesterday. Would you like me to read it? Michael's face went from ashen to green. To whom it may concern, this letter confirms that Thomas Morrison, age 68, underwent comprehensive cognitive and physical evaluation on October. All tests indicate normal cognitive function for his age group. No signs of dementia, memory impairment, or diminished capacity were observed. Mr. Morrison is fully competent to manage his affairs. The letter Emma had been reading over my shoulder. The records Michael found were fake, I explained. Planted bait to catch a thief. The locked drawer was a trap equipped with cameras and silent alarms. Everything you did was documented. Emma looked at Michael with absolute disgust. You fell for a trap? You were so eager to steal from my father that you didn't question obvious bait. I was desperate, Michael said. I owe people money, dangerous people. How much? I asked. 73,000. Emma gasped. 73,000. In gambling debts. Michael's voice was barely a whisper. I thought if I could just access your father's money quickly, I could pay them off. We could disappear somewhere fresh. So you were going to rob my father and kidnap me. Emma's voice rose. Make me complicit in elder fraud. Michael, I loved you, and you were willing to destroy my father to solve your gambling problem. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, you broke into my father's home. You picked locks. You photographed private documents. You planned to manipulate me into stealing from my own family. All documented on video, I added, with your accomplice's phone number recorded. The police will have everything they need. Police? Michael's panic was complete now. Thomas, please. We can work this out. How exactly? Emma demanded. You planned to use me to rob my father. You called him an old man who'd never see it coming. Those are your words, Michael. Recorded and saved. I can't go to jail. His voice cracked. Those people I owe money to, they'll kill me in prison. I have connection. That's not my problem, I said firmly. You made your choices. You planned your crime. You even celebrated your cleverness. Now you face consequences. Emma stood straighter. Get out. Michael looked at her desperately. Emma, please, I said, get out. Her voice was steel. Pack your things. Leave. If you contact me, I'll file for a restraining order. I'll divorce you, and I'll testify against you in court. You can't. I can, and I will. Emma's tears had stopped. What replaced them was cold fury. You used me. You manipulated me. You were willing to destroy my relationship with my father for gambling money. Michael tried one last time. What about our marriage? Vows? You broke those vows when you became a criminal. Emma pointed toward the stairs. Get your things. You have 10 minutes. Michael looked at me. Thomas, please, don't do this. You did this. I stood, pulling out my phone. I'm calling the police in 15 minutes. If you're still here, I'll have you arrested for breaking and entering. If you're gone, I'll give you a 24-hour head start before I file charges. Your choice. The calculation was visible on Michael's face. Prison now versus fleeing with a day's head start. He chose survival without another word. He ran upstairs. We heard him throwing things into bags with violent haste. Emma stood beside me, trembling. I'm so sorry, Dad. I brought him into your life. You couldn't have known. Michael's a professional con artist. He played both of us. He called you an old fool. Her voice shook with rage. He thought you were easy to manipulate. Emma looked at me with new respect. You're the smartest person I know. How did I ever doubt that? Michael reappeared with 2 hastily packed bags, still looking desperately around like he might find some escape. I stood between him and my daughter. If you come back, I told him, I'll file charges immediately. If you contact Emma, I'll add harassment. If you threaten either of us, I have friends in law enforcement who'll make sure you're found. Understood? Michael nodded once. Defeated, He left without looking back. We heard his car start, tires squealing as he fled into the night. Emma collapsed into a chair, 73,000 in gambling debts. I never knew. He hit it perfectly. Subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss any true revenge stories. Sometimes, even silence is the strongest form of revenge. Professionals always do. I sat beside her. That's why I had to let him walk into the trap. I needed proof you couldn't deny. The medical records, Emma said slowly. You created fake dementia diagnosis just to catch him. Patricia, at the security store, helped me prepare everything. The locked drawer was equipped with cameras and silent alarm. Every move Michael made was documented from multiple angles. Emma started laughing through her tears. You set an elaborate trap for your son-in-law, using military intelligence tactics and security technology. Dad, you're like a spy movie hero, just a careful old man who doesn't like being called a fool. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Emma asked the question I'd been expecting. Are you really going to call the police? I considered it. Michael's gone. He'll probably run far enough that his creditors can't find him. If he's smart, he'll disappear completely. So you're letting him go? Teaching him a lesson felt more important than prosecuting him. Plus, I protected you. That was always the goal. Emma hugged me tightly. Thank you for protecting me. Even when I was too blind to see I needed it. That's what fathers do. 3 months later, I was grading papers at my desk when Emma arrived for Sunday dinner. She'd moved back into her old childhood bedroom temporarily while her divorce finalized. How's the paperwork progressing? I asked. Almost done. Emma settled into the chair across from my desk. Michael never contested anything. Hard to argue when there's video evidence of attempted elder fraud. Any word on his location? Last I heard, he fled to Mexico, somewhere remote where his creditors won't find him easily. She paused. You know, part of me still can't believe he fooled me so completely. He was good at what he did, I said. Professional con artists make their living by being believable. Still, I should have seen signs. You saw them when it mattered. Emma smiled. Dad, can I ask you something? Shoot, when did you start suspecting Michael? The first dinner. I watched Michael's eyes, saw how I studied my house. Noticed his questions were too specific, too calculating. So you installed cameras after just one dinner? I installed them that night. Emma laughed. You really are paranoid. Not paranoid, prepared. We moved to the kitchen where I'd started preparing her favorite meal, chicken parmesan. Emma set the table like she'd done since childhood. I've been thinking about something Michael said. She mentioned about how elderly people are targeted for fraud. You're not elderly, Dad. You're 68 and sharper than most 30-year-olds. Still, it made me realize how vulnerable seniors can be. People who actually do have cognitive decline. That's why I've started volunteering. Emma looked up. Volunteering where? Senior Center downtown. Teaching fraud prevention classes. Showing elderly folks how to spot manipulation tactics, protect their assets, recognize warning signs. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Dad, that's beautiful. Seemed like a good use of my military intelligence background. Plus, I meet interesting people, better than sitting home alone. You're never going to be one of those vulnerable elderly people, are you? I smiled. Not if I can help it. Some of us old folks bite back. After dinner, Emma insisted on cleaning up. I settled in my study with a book, surrounded by my security cameras and locked drawers and all the defenses I'd built against people who thought age meant weakness. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia at the security store. Saw your story on the local news. Retired professor foils elder fraud scheme. You're famous. I texted back. Just did what needed doing. Her response came quickly. You did more than that. You showed people that elderly doesn't mean helpless. Keep teaching those classes. We need more people like you. I set down my phone and looked around my study. The locked drawer that had been Michael's downfall still sat in my desk, now containing actual important documents instead of bait. The security cameras still recorded everything, silent guardians against future threats. And me, I was just a careful old man who'd learned long ago that preparation beats desperation, that patience beats panic, that sometimes the best defense was letting your enemy think they'd already won, right up until the moment they realized they'd lost everything. Michael had called me a fool, an easy target, an old man who'd never see it coming. He was right about one thing: I was old, but I'd seen it coming from a mile away, and some lessons, I thought, smiling to myself in the quiet of my study, were best taught through experience rather than explanation. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching. If this story showed you a different face of justice, like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next revenge story.